Why can't I just say the word? Why can't I say this is going to be like $30,000? I just can't. I can't say it.
Welcome to Smart Gets Paid with me, Leah Niederthal. I help women run more profitable consulting businesses, getting more of the clients you want and getting paid way more for your work without sacrificing your time. But I've never been a salesperson. My background is in corporate marketing, and when I started my own consulting business, I learned pretty quickly that it's about 1,000 times harder to sell your own stuff than it is to sell someone else's. So I taught myself how to do it, I turned it into a methodology, and now I teach that proven methodology to my clients. So whether your consulting contracts are $10,000, $100,000, or more, if you want more clients you love, more work you love, and to get paid more than you ever thought possible, then you're in the right place. Let's do it together. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to rate, review, and share. Hey there, Leah here, and thanks for tuning in. I hope wherever you're listening to this, wherever you are right now, I hope you're having a great week, making some good progress in your business, and taking some time for you. So you might hear that I've got a little bit of a head cold going on. And, everyone talks about how, like with kids, they talk about how at the start of the school year, everyone gets sick. Kids are back with a lot of other kids, they're getting their germs, they bring them home, etc., right? Like everyone talks about that at the beginning of the school year. But no one's talking about the summer camp thing, because now kids are with a whole new set of kids and a new set of germs. And so there's a whole other wave of germs coming into the house and, yada, yada, yada. Now I'm sick, right? So anyway, thanks for understanding and thanks for still listening. So now we go from head cold to head trash. And I want to talk about something today that I think is going to feel uncomfortably familiar to you. And that thing is pricing head trash. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you've heard me talk about head trash before. It's that voice in your head or that feeling you feel that sort of gets in the way of you doing the thing that you know you should do, or even the thing you might be doing in that moment. It's the thing that says, like when you need to follow up with somebody, right? It's that voice that says, you're going to sound salesy. Or, when you think about posting on LinkedIn, head trash is that voice that says, if you do that, you're going to look desperate, right? All of that stuff. And even beyond business development, head trash is there. Think about like when somebody doesn't text you back in what feels like, a reasonable amount of time, head trash is the voice that says they're probably mad at you. And, on and on and on. We all have our own version of head trash in our business and in our life. And when you're running a business, there's a specific category of head trash that's especially insidious. It's head trash around pricing. It's that thing that comes up when you sit down to write a proposal and head trash pops up to say, oh, there's no way they'll pay that much. Or when you're pricing something and it rears its ugly head and says, are you really sure you're worth that much? And pricing head trash is everywhere. It affects all of us, even if you've done a lot of money mindset work. And even if you've been in business for years, it can still slip through the cracks. And that's what you're going to hear today. Real examples of pricing head trash from real women just like you. Because I think it's important to know that, one, if you have your own pricing head trash, and we all do, then you're not alone. But two, it's important to see that you can look head trash right in the face, you can call it out for what it is, and you can find healthy ways to move past it. So in this episode, you're going to hear 2 real conversations from inside our group coaching calls in the Academy. And I want to take a second to tell you, just what those calls actually are, because I think it's important context for what you're about to hear. So in the Academy, we don't just teach you strategies about how to get clients and then send you off to figure it out on your own. Every week, we do live group coaching calls where you bring your real situations, the actual clients you're selling to, the specific, conversations that you're navigating, and the exact sticking points you're hitting, and we work through them together in real time. It's this real-time sales coaching that's really, really valuable. So you're not just learning theory and strategies that only exist in a vacuum or on paper. You're getting coaching on your business, your specific clients, your specific numbers, and your specific situations. And one of the things we do a lot in those calls is we spend time untangling head trash. Because sometimes you just need someone to help you see what's actually going on and hand you the keys to really unlock this situation. That's what these calls are for. And honestly, it's one of the things that makes the Academy different from a lot of other programs and courses and, AI out there, like this real-time in the room coaching on the situations you're actually facing. So today you're going to hear two clips from two different calls, two different women, two different businesses, and two very different flavors of pricing head trash. And what's interesting is that one of these women is running $1 million business. The other is working on closing a $30,000 engagement. Like they're in two different situations and they're both stuck in exactly the same way, pricing head trash. Because that's the thing. I mean, pricing head trash doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care how long you've been in business or how much you've made or how much mindset work you've done or how many checks you've written at bigger numbers than the one you can't say, right? Head trash finds you anyway. So here's who you're going to hear from. The first woman is a consultant to tech CEOs. She's been running her business for 4 years. She spent years as a senior tech leader herself at startups and Fortune 500 companies. And she's been, in those roles, she's been on the other side of the table. She's hired consultants. She's approved the invoices. She's written the checks. And yet when it's her number, when it's her ask, she's stuck. She just can't say it. The second woman you're going to hear from provides operational support for nonprofits. She's been in her business for 6 years, and she's been building out a new service that bundles several functions to give her clients a new type of support. And in this conversation, she's working through how to price that new offer. And what's getting in her way is something that comes from the world that she comes from, which is nonprofit. But I just have to say, I'm hearing her same narrative from a lot of women who feel strongly about social justice, mission-driven businesses, etc. And it sounds like this. When you've spent your career in that world, you sort of internalize a belief that, every dollar spent on anything other than the mission is a dollar taken from the mission, right? That spending money or, as a consultant, like asking nonprofits to spend money on you is almost like a moral failing. And when that's baked into how you see money and running your business, then charging a premium for your work can start to feel like you're taking, or as you're going to hear her call it, it starts to feel extractive. Now, these might not be your exact situations. You might not work with nonprofits or mission-driven businesses, or you might not be stuck on a specific number, and that's fine. I just want to caution, don't be that guy who's like, it's not exactly me, so it doesn't apply to me. The point isn't the specific number or the specific industry. The point is to see how pricing head trash works, how it shows up, how it sounds, and what it feels like from the inside. Because you probably have your own version. I know I have my own version. And the more you can recognize it in somebody else, the easier it is to catch it in yourself. So 2 women, 2 different situations, and 1 shared problem, pricing head trash. I want to send a huge thank you to both of these Academy members for allowing me to share these calls with you. So take a listen, and at the end, I'll come back and share a lesson you can apply to your business.
So the situation is I have a client that I did a retainer for that actually started with $500 and then went to $8,000. Like I gave them different options and they chose the biggest one. So that was fantastic. When the engagement started, it actually right away went a very different direction and then turned into like 8 different priority areas that they need to work on to make their department more efficient. I met with her this morning and I was like, listen, this scope of work is very different than what we agreed upon. The price tag for this new work is going to be much bigger. And she was like, I've got budget right now, so just tell me what kind of money you want. Why can't I just say the word? Why can't I say this is going to be like $30,000? I just can't. I can't say it. I'll put it on paper. Why do I struggle with that? I have thoughts, but just practice saying it here. You're not bracing her for this, just like say $30,000. Yeah. You want to just tell us? We're your committee. Okay, great. Hi, you guys. It's going to be $30,000. Can I say one thing that I hope I deliver this in the right way? $30,000 is not that much money. I know that too. And why do I think that's so much money? Of course, you have a hard time saying it's $200,000, but like $30,000 is like, companies spend that. And I've spent that at companies. Why is this a struggle for me? I know it's worth it. I know it's going to be a lot of work.
I think we can choose any number of reasons from, how your parents might have talked about money in the past to your experiences in your very first job to any number of things. Why do you think it's so difficult?
Yeah. I think because I haven't done a lot of big, like they've always been smaller. The retainers certainly add up to it, but when it's a retainer and it's a monthly, then it's like 5K a month, 10K a month. But when you just give them one big number, it just feels big and it feels like a lot. And maybe there's a worth issue. Maybe I need counseling. You're
That's
laughing
unique.
because you all agree.
No,
Yeah.
raise your hand if you've been there. Raise your hand if you are currently still there. Sometimes, right? Okay, let me offer a different way of thinking about this. So 30 seems big because you're coming from 5 or 8 or whatever, right? You're sort of going up. One thing I learned from a trainer, actually, which is very relatable to business, is that did you know that stretching is a neurological issue first? So if let's say you reach down to your toes and you can't touch them because your body is pulling you back, it's actually not about your tendons. Your body is pulling you back because your body does not feel safe, like,
Mm.
allowing you to make this movement.
Yeah.
So that's why if you've ever been in physical therapy, they'll say like, okay, push, push, push against my arm or whatever,
Yeah.
because it's training not your muscle, it's training your brain to believe that like this motion is safe. Okay. It's a neurological thing first. Same thing with like business and numbers and stuff. I was reading a story of a woman. This is very relatable to probably all of us, but she was at some sort of business retreat and like the person was like, write down your goal. And she wrote down her goal and it said, double it and write it down. And she's like, I couldn't even do that. And then it's like, okay, double it again and write it down. This was just between her and a piece of paper, but she couldn't even
Yeah.
write it down because neurologically she wasn't ready for it. Does that make sense?
So I should just practice writing it down.
Okay. Yeah. You should practice saying it, but don't practice saying $30,000. Practice saying the price is $100,000. The price is $120,000. The price is $140,000, all the way up, right? To like $200,000. I promise you, if you do that for a few days, when you say $30,000, it's going to be like,
Yeah.
what?
Instead of counting sheep at night, this is what I'm going to say.
Can I tell you that I do this when I walk my dog? I talk about my goals.
Yeah.
And I double it and then I double it again or whatever, because by the time I get up here,
Yeah.
this goal where I actually am feels like no big deal.
I love that.
Because instead of working up to it, work down from it neurologically.
I love that.
More on how to beat pricing head trash after this.
What about my tendency to over justify? So, like, I'll send you an ROI document. I'll send you like everything to prepare you. Should I really, because I reviewed the details with her this morning, I should really be able to say, hey, here's the details we covered this morning, and it's $120,000.
Tendency to over explain is, or like bracing them for it or whatever. Just remember that like you're worried about how they're going to think about this, but you are going to teach them how to think about it.
Okay.
Like you have a lot of control over that, right? So how you approach it is how they're going to take it. So if you're like, and here's the ROI document and it's $30,000, is that okay? And I can talk to blah, 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 blah. You're creating the reaction where if you're like, okay, I put it together and I have two options. One of them is 30 and one of them is 50. And let's talk about which one is right for you. Also teaches them something.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it's in
I'm
your
ready.
control. What was that? I love that. Did you guys see that?
This was my power pose.
Yeah. So I think when you're reminding yourself that you're afraid of a reaction, but you have the ability to create the reaction.
Yes. I love that.
So that's the first flavor of pricing head trash. And I want to just pause here for a second because what you just heard is something I want you to hold on to. This idea that getting comfortable with bigger numbers is neurological, not just mental. All right, we're going to come back to that at the end, and I'm going to give you something specific you can do with it. But first, I want you to hear the second conversation. Same problem, pricing head trash, completely different form. This woman has been in her business for 6 years, and she provides operational support for nonprofits. And her pricing head trash doesn't show up as a number she can't say out loud. It shows up as something deeper, this feeling that charging her clients makes her part of the problem. All right, take a listen.
So here is the thing that's on my mind is how we should price things in general. We're going to do like these huge contracts with, a good $10,000 a month recurring per client to do their accounting, to do their HR, to be their operations, to be their back office service. The true value of what we're providing is immense, but I also don't want to overprice and gouge just because I can. And I also wonder, do I need to be netting thousands of dollars per month per organization? So I'm kind of struggling on that value-based pricing concept on the monthly recurring services that are really 3/4 of it's not consulting. There's a consulting layer in there, but most of it is that high quality, transactional, well-oiled machinery.
Mm-hmm. By people that you pay.
By people that I pay. Yes.
Right.
We have 6 employees now, including myself. We have half a dozen contractors. We're a $1 million business right now. I want to be a $15 million business. So what should we charge? What should be our kind of ethos around that?
Well, I think that, one thing to remember is anything that you charge now, you don't have to charge that forever. You could have like founder rates or, early whatever rates, you know what I'm saying? To use it to fund your testing effectively. You could say, I have a feeling that your people do sort of good time tracking. I don't know, you strike me as somebody who like has that built in, tracking everything. And so gather some data around utilization and then see if your hypothesis was correct, on like with what you're charging now, are you making a profit? I also think that there's tremendous benefit for them to not have to manage 3 other vendors. You're not just delivering the service, you're saving them a lot of headache and time and all of that. And not every client's going to be your client for this service, right? So if you're like, wow, this is like sort of at the upper end of what I'm comfortable charging, some people will say no. But it means that the right people, like when they say yes, they're going to like use you in the right way, value you in the right way. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, for sure. And so I think that makes a lot of sense. And that once we can figure out what it is that we actually want to charge when we get into it and who we want to work with when we get a little further down the road.
Well, it may be the case that not everything's also going to be ready on day one, perhaps, and you're going to be building new capabilities.
There'll be modules that people can add on. So we really want the full vertical, if you will. So like there are a lot of pieces that people could add on, and I want to be of value and very profitable. I don't want to be cheap either. I want to charge a good rate, but I also don't want to price myself out to the point where people don't want it or where I'm part of the problem and like just too extractive too. I think what I want to do is provide a lot of value. And I, of course, watch Smart Gets Paid as like a model for how to do a lot of these things. So like pack it full of value. I just still have a little bit of that head trash that I need to get rid of. But I think as I go through it, then I want to be able to create an institution. I want to change how these things are done instead of just having a small business. And so we need the dollars to be able to do that work. I'm having to go ask for those investment dollars instead of taking out a home equity loan or something, right? Like it's better. But if I had, the big cushion, it would allow us to continually innovate and figure out new things that are of benefit to our clients in the community.
Yeah. I'm glad you called out the head trash, only because what I hear, if I could just sort of play it back, it's like every time I hear you talk about charging a lot, it's always paired with a comment about extraction and like doing it without integrity. So I always hear a profit message paired with a extraction message. Yeah. And you can be premium without being extractive. And it's okay to be premium. Extractive is like, how much money can I get with giving the least, right? Without regard for the scorched earth that will be left behind, right? That's extractive. Premium is we deliver an incredible service and this is how much it costs, and we're not for everyone. But for those people who are the right people, we do an incredible job.
And thank you. That's bringing up a lot of emotions, actually. And I try to remember some of the things that I pay a god-awful amount for. There is a chocolate chip cookie that I love, and it is $5. And I will gladly pay. I'm happy to give them my card every time I buy one of those cookies. And, I could buy 20 cookies at the grocery store for $5.
Right.
And it is worth it, that cookie, right? I have my iPhone, I have my MacBook, I have my, the things that I value that I am happy to pay for because I get a lot out of those experiences. And I think that people see us like that as well. And I want to pay my people well. I have great, great people. And I am not paying them at the level that they deserve to be paid. For some reason, they've accepted the job, but also we don't have the profit margin yet to be able to do that.
Well, you're building something. You really, you are like building a whole new business. And I think just reminding yourself of, what is premium and what is extractive. And those are not the same thing. I think could go a long way in sort of quieting that head trash.
That's so helpful for me to hear too. I just feel like if you are working in the nonprofit space, it is so easy to not be able to fully hear that.
All right, so let's talk about what just happened in there. And I always like to pull out one lesson that you can apply in your business. And today I'm going to give you something concrete you can do, even starting right after you listen to this episode. But first, I want to say something about what these two conversations had in common, because I think it's, worth shining a light on. One of them is running $1 million business. The other is at a place where a $30,000 engagement feels huge. And both of them understand pricing. Both of them have done work on money mindset. And both of them are stuck in exactly the same way. And that's what pricing head trash does. It doesn't discriminate. No matter how long you've been in business or how much you've made or how much money mindset work you've done, it will find a way in, usually when you least expect it. And that's not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's just the reality of running a business, which is why I want to give you something that you can actually do when it happens. So in that first conversation, you heard me walk through this idea that getting comfortable with bigger numbers is neurological, right? Not just mental. And the technique I shared with her, I want you to try it too. So if you want to raise your prices or, just generally go bigger in what you're getting paid, here's what I want you to try. Don't practice saying your number. Practice saying a number that's bigger than that number, like a lot bigger. So if you're working on saying $30,000 or it costs $30,000, like the woman you heard from here, don't practice saying $30,000. Practice saying $100,000. $150,000, $200,000, and on and on. Say those numbers like out loud in the car, on a walk, wherever. And here's why this works. It's not a confidence trick. It's a neurological technique. Your body and your brain treat an unfamiliar number the same way your body treats an unfamiliar stretch. It sort of pulls back. Not because you can't do it or your body can't do it. It's because it doesn't feel safe yet. And the way you make it feel safe is the same way that a physical therapist trains your body to move differently. You go past the range you need so that when you come back to where you actually are, it feels easy, feels like nothing. So try this. Think about a client you're talking to right now or some hypothetical future engagement and say the price out loud. Again, not the price you're planning to charge. Say a bigger one and then bigger than that. And then see what happens in your body when you say it over and over. And you can do this with your overall business goals too. Like what would it feel like to say out loud, my business made $500,000 last year, or $750,000, or we're on track to hit $1 million, or we hit $2 million last year. Even if those numbers are, above where you are right now, like that's the point. Say them anyway. Because here's the truth. You can't achieve something that you're not neurologically ready for. And until you're ready, your brain and your body will find ways to keep you below that level. The author Gay Hendricks named this phenomenon in his book, The Big Leap. He calls it the upper limit problem, which is this idea that we all have this invisible ceiling on what we believe we're allowed to have or allowed to make or allowed to say out loud. And when we get close to that ceiling, we unconsciously find ways to pull ourselves back down. And if your pricing head trash looks more like the second conversation you heard, where charging a premium feels like you're taking something away, the move is different, but the principle is the same. You have to name it for what it is. Not a moral truth about who you are, just head trash. The belief that being well paid and being of service are in conflict isn't a fact, it's just a feeling. And feelings, like muscles, can be retrained. So pricing head trash is insidious because it doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up and say, "Hi, I'm here to hold you back today." It just sort of slips in through the cracks, and the only way out is to go past it, not up to it. And before I let you go, I just want to name something. Head trash, it's not a thing I made up. You can get information about pricing mindset and head trash anywhere. You can even ask AI, and it can tell you that your pricing head trash exists. It can give you a list of tips, right? But it can't give you the experience of hearing somebody else's head trash firsthand and having it shine a light on something in yourself. And, sometimes even in these calls, the biggest ahas don't come from when you bring your own situation to the table. They come when you hear someone else's. And that's what I hope happened for you today. And that's the thing that's irreplaceable about doing this work with other people. So become expansive. Practice saying bigger numbers. Be in community with other women who are working through this stuff. And, watch what happens to the number that you actually are able to say. So if you had an aha or an insight from what you heard in this episode, please post about it and tag me. I'd love to know what resonated for you. And of course, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please pass it along to her. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.